Hello. For today's video I want to have a look at the compatibility between things like Betterpress plates or press plates in general and hot foiling plates for both the Spellbinders Glimmer and the Couture Creations GoPress and Foil, which I know is no longer available except perhaps in Australia, but lots of people have got one, and I do get asked questions about compatibility between things that are made for the two machines and by other manufacturers as well. So I've pulled out from my stash, and I have a large stash because I've been doing this for about 9 years now. So I've spent a long time collecting foiling plates from Spellbinders, from Couture Creations, from Crafter's Companion, and from other manufacturers as well. So I want to have a look at what the difference is between Glimmer plates and press plates, and also try out different foils with the different machines and just see how compatibility and interchangeable things are. So here's my selection. So first of all, I've got here a Spellbinders Glimmer plate, and it's in this familiar sort of bronze or coppery colour, and that's what we're used to seeing. And they've changed now to pretty much only producing what they call impress plates. So what's the difference? So let me just grab press plate, and the first difference, and again this is a Spellbinders one, the first difference you'll notice is the colour. But it's not the colour that's the important thing, it's the finish on the surface of the plate. And it makes no difference when you're foiling, it only makes a difference when you're trying to letterpress with ink. So if I feel this, it almost feels like the same sort of feeling as a silicone mat, and that just helps hold ink in place when you're letterpressing. Okay, it makes no difference when you're foiling, and I'll show you that in a minute. And this is another one, and I pulled this out because it's got some flatter areas. Yeah, so this again is a press plate. There's a die that comes with it as well, and it's a Spellbinders one. But again, it's got that kind of resistance when you touch it, almost like silicone, but it's still smooth and produces really pretty foiling. The other things I pulled out, this is another Spellbinders Glimmer plate. I pulled out a Couture Creations foiling plate. I've got a Crafter's Companion press plate. They're doing them as well now, and again they work just the same. Crafter's Companion foiling plate, and you can see the colour is the same almost, but it's the feel of the surface that's different. This feels really sort of slick and smooth, and I can run my finger across it with no resistance, whereas with the press plate I can feel that, as I say, almost like silicone or rubbery feel on the surface. It's not, I mean, it's not something you could press into, but it's there and it feels different. And the other one I've pulled out, and this was by, let me get the name right, Studio Light. They did some foiling plates, and these are, you know, marketed as foiling plates. You can see on the surface they're shiny, comes with a die as well, but they're a bit thinner. So I find with these I have to put a shim or two of card in when I'm using them, just to make up the extra pressure that's needed. Okay, so let's actually get to some foiling. So I've got both my machines pretty much heated up. I need to position some dies and actually show you how it all works. So let's start off with the Glimmer and the press plate. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to grab a piece of card. and I'm going to get some Glimmer foil. So this is Spellbinders Glimmer foil. I don't have a huge number of Glimmer foils because I've got a huge collection of everybody else's. So I've got a huge collection of Couture creations and some unbranded foils and some Crafter's Companion ones. I'm just going to trim my foil. Okay, that'll do for a piece of foil. Now I like to position my foil plates on my card so that I know where everything's going to be. And I use a magnet from a hot foiling platform. It's wrapped up in some masking tape to give it like a handle. Yeah, or if you've got the type of magnets that come in a holder that gives them a handle, that works as well. I'm going to pop that on the back and that holds that in place. Okay, now I'm going to turn the camera around so I'm facing the hot foiling platforms. Oops, and the magnet's caught on something. Just bear with me a moment while I swing this around. There we go, so you can see my hot foiling platforms. So, to make sure this doesn't move, I put a piece of masking tape on the bottom there. And then I secure it in place there. And then, let's move that tape down, and then we can leave that to warm up. Okay, while we're waiting for that, I'm going to take my Glimmer plate and do the same kind of thing on my GoPress and foil. So I've got a big Glimmer plate and I've done the same thing with the magnets. I'm just going to get another piece of tape. I'm going to secure this in place in the same way. And then I'm going to get some foil while that's warming up. And I'm going to use the same foil. Now the nice thing is with the lid down, I can actually put my foil on and kind of see how much I need. There we are. So this should be ready now, so let's put my piece of foil on. Flip my card down. No, don't need that. So my green plate and my top plate go on, and this has already been heating, so I'm going to roll that through. This off. I don't want it sitting there getting hotter and hotter. So I'm just going to leave that to one side for a moment while I take care of the other one. Now for this, I am going to put some card shims in. I've been using my GoPress and foil for a long time, and I know I'm going to need these card shims. So I can lift this up, I can put my foil on, make sure that's it, in the right place. card shims in, and then I can pull it off the base. Oops. So I'm just rolling this through. Move it out of the way. There we are. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera around so we can have a look at these. So this is the one done on my Glimmer with the press plate, and you can see it's foiled perfectly. Yeah, nice rainbow effect on it. And this is using the Spellbinders foil with a Glimmer plate on my GoPress and foil. And that has also foiled beautifully. And this plate is designed so you turn the card round and you do it again facing the other way to create a nice topper, and I shall do that later. Okay, so we've got a Glimmer plate on the GoPress and foil, we've got a press plate on the Glimmer, so let's switch it up again. Let me just take these off. Now I'm bringing them back here. I've got a silicone mat in front of me, so I'm just going to just sit on there and cool down. So I thought now I would try the Crafter's Companion. Okay, so we've not done a press plate on the GoPress and foil, so let me do the butterflies, yeah, on the GoPress and foil. And I've buried my pieces of card, so bear with me. What have I done? There we are. So let's change up the foil, and I've got here some Studio Light foil. It may even be a brand new roll of foil. Yep, I've still got the seal on it. Got a piece of tape. Oh no, it hasn't. No. Yeah, it's got a piece of tape. I've managed to get it undone. Right, so let's just lose that for a little bit. I'll use that for a sentiment later. It's going to need quite a big piece of foil, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to need a huge piece of foil. Okay, so one of the reasons I got the dye out is because I can put this on to be heating and then use the dye to get my foil to the right size. So, press plate on the GoPress and foil. Okay, and then cut the foil to the right size. You have to imagine how it's going to be when you actually cut it out. If you cut it out, you could just leave it on the card, of course. So I'm going to put it that way over, and I'm going to just roughly cut around it. And there's two reasons for doing this. One is so that I can keep some foil to do things like my sentiments. And the other is so that I don't get huge amounts of foil overhanging the foiling plate, because that's when you can get some really significant overfoiling. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera around and put the foil on. There we are. So the foiling plate should have had time. Oops, that's come unstuck. Let's take the foil off quickly and just reposition that. The other advantage of having the card kind of ready just to flip down is if you've got curly foil, it's much easier to get the foil down quickly and put the card in place if you've only got to sort of flip it from a tape hinge. So I'll just get my shims. So same as before, onto there. Let's do this. Turn the camera back. So here's my foiling. And as you can see, beautiful gold butterflies. So I've only seen the Studio Light foil and foiling plates on sale once. It was on the TV on a channel that no longer exists, but if they do come back, I would certainly buy more of their foils and their foiling plates. So we've covered that. I'm going to use this one on the Glimmer, and we've not done it yet, so let's use some Couture Creations foil. I'm going to put it, yeah, I think I'll put it that way. Trying to imagine how I'm going to want to maybe cut this out of a circle. No, so maybe that way. Yeah, that way. Okay, so I've got it secured at the back by a magnet. The tape goes on the same side as the magnet. Okay, let me turn the camera. There we are. So this is a Couture Creations hot foiling plate. This actually came with my GoPress and foil. I've had this a long time. Just going to put some of these foils away. Well, I'll tell you what I haven't tried. I haven't tried the Couture Creations foils. Let's do that. Just cutting my foil. Just gonna snip the corners off. Okay, so that's hot now. Put the card down. Now sometimes I end up, I don't know if you can see it very well. Let me zoom the camera in. Just change the position slightly. Yeah. Can you, oh, wrong way. Can you see here, I've got a little bit of foil just sticking out the side. I don't want to get foil on my plate, so that's just a piece of copier paper that I've put down. And that, if any of the foil that overhangs does get hot enough to transfer, it'll go onto the paper instead of my plates. Okay, so my green plate and my top plate, down they go. And then slide this out. I'm using a Big Shot Plus. Again, I've had it a long time and it wasn't even new when I got it. I'm just going to roll again, just to make sure it's quite a big foiling plate. It's got quite flat areas on it. And I can safely do that because the card is taped in place. So it's less likely to jiggle around when I'm doing my foiling. Let's take that off of there. I'm going to turn the camera back round. Get rid of some of my bits of foil. So here we are. That's foiled really beautifully. Okay, and it wouldn't matter if I was using the Glimmer foil. You get the same effect. The other foil I've not shown you is, I've still got some foil. I started foiling on a thing called a Todo, which most of you won't have a clue what it is, but it was an early way of foiling. It was like a foiling machine and die cutting machine combined. It had some issues. It was a great start, but GoPress and foil was much easier to use. And I bought the Glimmer because my GoPress and foil is really getting quite old now. I just wouldn't want to be without a foiling platform. So whilst the GoPress and foil still works, I've got the Glimmer as a backup or an extra machine if I'm doing lots and lots of foiling. Is that wide enough? Just right. So this is Todo foil, which I haven't got a box for because it came as sort of a blister pack in a set. I'm going to get this bit off the bottom. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to redo the butterfly since that's already nice and hot. So another piece of card. There's my tape. So you'll notice I've got some marks along the bottom of my Glimmer hot plate, and they've just been put on with a fine line Sharpie, so alcohol fine line pen, and they let me sort of see where I've lined things up. I'm going to put the paper on again. I'm not sure I need it this time, but it's there. So don't need to press the 30-second button again because the foiling plate's already hot. So it doesn't need to be, I don't need to wait for it to heat again. And all that button does is get you to wait 30 seconds. It doesn't make the machine do anything to its heat. It's not when the plate starts heating. The plate starts heating as soon as it touches the hot surface. And it can't get any hotter than the hot surface. So you can't heat for too long either. There we are. I'm just going to turn the camera again. Let's peel this one back. Okay, so with this foil, there are some bits that look like they're overfoiling, but actually the foil isn't stuck to the card. Let me just zoom. I'm going to zoom right in so you can see where I've got, let me try and get my finger in the right place. So where I've got these little bits here, you can always see there's a bubble. They're not actually overfoiling because the foil's not stuck down. If I just brush that, that will come off. So let me do that. I've got a, where are we? Yeah, there. Gosh, we were zoomed in. So let me zoom out again. Wrong way. There we are. So I'm just going to brush this and little flakes of foil will come away. You can see them on the card. There, if I zoom in again, you can see they've just brushed away. Okay, but I've still got some bits on the card. Okay, so hopefully that's helped you to see all the compatibilities. I'm just going to do, that one's, oh, I've got foil everywhere here. There's not space to put this down to cool. So I'm going to foil this one, okay, and I'm going to do the Crafter's Companion one. So you've seen that everything's compatible between the GoPress and foil and the Glimmer. So I'm going to do these on the Glimmer just because it's easier for me to get to with my camera where it is, okay. Or maybe I could do one on each. There's an idea. That'd be quicker, wouldn't it? Right, so I've got here a strip of card. So this is a Crafter's Companion foiling plate for the Gemini foil press, okay, part of their Christmas collection. Okay, it's a foiling plate rather than a press plate because it's, I've had it quite a few years now. Okay, so I'm going to put that onto my Glimmer, and I'm just going to move some things out the way first. Some things are now cool, others need to cool down, and I need some space. So let me move that out the way, put that foil out the way, put that foiling over there, There we are, and I've got a piece of Todo foil there. Just right for doing this, I think. Or shall I use, no, I'm going to use the Glimmer foil. So the Glimmer foil on the GoPress and foil with the Crafter's Companion foiling plate. So this is a nice star pattern. I've got a bit on my foil. Okay. Yeah, foil was big enough. So I'm going to a piece of tape. I'm putting this onto my GoPress and foil. I'll show you it in position in a moment. Okay, and then this one. This one I'm going to put on the other end of this piece of card. It's one of the advantages of being able to precisely position things, is you can get away with putting several things onto a piece of card and then cutting them out. So I think I'm going to have a new piece of tape. So that's ready to go. I'm going to put that on the Glimmer. Okay, turning the camera around. So there they both are. So that one should be hot. That can go on there. That can go on there. My shim's the same as before. This one needs to warm up. So while we're waiting for that, let's roll this one through. Come back here. So that's that one, and I think I'm going to use one of these spare pieces of foil. I've got a little piece of gold foil to go there. That can go down. It hasn't quite finished warming up, but I say these foiling plates from Studio Light are a bit thinner, so I'm going to put my card shims in between my green plate and my top plate. Okay. Turn the camera back round. grab both pieces of foiling. So this was our Crafter's Companion foiling plate with Todo foil on the GoPress from foil. And that's come out beautifully. And then we've got the Studio Light foiling plate with the Studio Light foil. Oh, and I've got too much pressure there, because you can see how much overfoiling, and that really is overfoiling. So let me do that one again and take out one of the shims. And I got a spare piece of card. Bear with me. I've always got a spare piece of card. Okay, so will that fit? Yeah, that'll be fine. So I'm going to put the card down and then cut some more foil. Right, so I've got some card in the right place. I'm using the same foil. I'm going to take out, I'm going to say one of the castings, but they are actually a double layer. So I actually had 4 layers of card in there, which was obviously too much. So, let me turn the camera back. That's it. Piece of foil. I can get it to stay still while I put my card down. No, I can use the other piece. There we are. So I've got green plate, double layer of card, and top plate. So again, I didn't press the 30-second button because the foiling plate is already sitting there hot. It doesn't need to be heated again. So let me turn the camera and we'll see what we've got. That's better. So there we are. Lovely shiny foiling, and without the overfoiling this time, or maybe some tiny little bits. If you do get little bits of overfoiling, there's a couple of things you can use. Let me just tidy the desk and I will show you, as I need a smooth surface to put the card down on, and I haven't got one at the minute. I'm going to zoom the camera in somewhat. That way it can be seen. There, maybe zoom a bit more. And then I need to sit down to do this. So, I have here, get it in focus for you. Not there. There we are. No, oh, right, there we go. Turn it around so you can see it all the way up. Where's it gone? There we are. This is a Faber-Castell eraser pencil, and it's for rubbing out the coloured pencils basically, but it's basically it's a coarse eraser. So coming back to here, just at the top here there is a tiny bit of faint overfoiling, and this is detailed enough that I can just get in there and just rub that away. And sometimes you can only see the overfoiling when the light catches it in just the right way. There we are. Let's put my finger over there, make sure it's all gone. And I think I've got a couple of bits I need to brush. Maybe just in the end. Make sure all the other bits are gone. There we are. So I'll bring this up and zoom in again. So there was some overfoiling just at the top here, and I'll just rub that out. So sometimes you can't completely avoid overfoiling, but if it's small amounts, it's quite easy to remove. If you're using sort of plain card, if you've got a coated card, it gets much more difficult. Sometimes you can lift it off with a piece of tape on coated card. But there we are. So everything seems to be compatible with everything. You might just need to adjust your pressure slightly so that you've got the right pressure for the right thing you're doing and the foil that you're using. Okay, so hopefully that's done some myth busting and help people figure out whether or not they need to buy things of a certain brand or not. And I'm going to say not. Okay, so hopefully you found this helpful. Thanks for watching.